Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22. This is Career Mode, and this is episode 30, and it is our transfer special. But we begin with sponsor BIBD. They want us back for another year, obviously, and at maximum increase, which will set us to 169,000 for the coming season. We still have that estimation max of somewhere between 260 and 290, which isn't fantastic, but it's certainly not bad. And when you compare the other two, well, the finances, there's no significant gap between any of the three. And in terms of the estimation max, the other two are identical and not necessarily a whole lot higher. It is higher, though. In terms of unique options, I think the Team Cheetah Mobile would be a better option, even though it starts a little bit lower, just because it would follow the theme of we're moving to larger and larger nations within Asia before progressing into, the cycling heartland of, say, Europe. That would kind of follow a nice flow, right? But I don't think we need to be switching from BIBD yet. I think we're set for a second year with BIBD, especially without some sort of substantial increase. Therefore, we'll take one more, and if we then get up to about 200 next year, that would be a good time to start thinking about moving on to the next sponsor. A couple of years with each. Before signing any contracts, here's how the team looks and what's going to change about the team entering next season. First off, Index here on August 1st has us placed 15th right now. Part of the reason for that is the majority of the current team is returning. In fact, only 2 riders have an expiring contract this year, and it's quite encouraging about where those expirations are happening. Oingering, the final member of the original team, is leaving us this season. It's also the final Guamanian rider. I've not been able to find any sort of replacement for him, as the database is not coming up with any further riders. They're not making it out of the youth ranks at this stage. So it's going to be really hard to find one going forward, and we might be without a rider from Guam for quite some seasons. Of course, Laksek and Bin Faisal, who are here for BIBD, and I put them both on 2-year contracts, assuming that I would probably keep with the sponsor for 2 years. So that sets us up perfectly for that one more year that we are set for, and of course they are our lowest domestiques. Casper Anderson is the only other expiring contract, which means in terms of the list of riders and who we can or can't sign, right? One per nation means we are now reopening the possibility of signing a Danish rider and Guamanian rider, but like I said, there's not really anything there. But Danish is one to keep an eye out on. The only rider who has not achieved a high status, who has not hit that 4 stars and above, is Panamar. Struggling. He's been with us for a long time and not leveling up quickly. And yet he does still have a good amount of potential. Supposed to, anyway. He just hasn't been hitting it. He is the Ukrainian champion in both the road race and the time trial. He did succeed in defending the one and earning the other this year, so it's not all bad, but he very much finds himself as nothing but a low-level domestique for us who can't seem to achieve his potential. Outside of him, that then gives us 3 riders that are still currently in the 4-star range: Hagens, Mikkels, Vashek. Everybody else is 4.5 and above, with Bogley as the only one at 5. Let's go ahead and break down how the team actually looks right now. In the flat department, Mikkels on top. Mountain, 3 good climbers in Gonzalez, Bonneau, and Arrieta. Plenty of riders with punch for Mark. Slight edge over the rest, but it's very tight. I mean, 75 and above is more than half the team. Punchers seem to be cheap in this year's game. Time trialing, very much a weakness for us. Just a few that even have 70 plus. Nobody is good. Prologue slightly better, but still not good. Cobble rating, it's starting to show up. It's starting to come along. Mikkels with a 74. Vandenberg, Hagens, Petty, Frigo, they're getting there. Sprint is definitely one of our better categories right now. Vandenberg starting to emerge as a capable winner. And he's got decent lead-out support with Mikkels, McKellar, the soon-to-be expiring contract of Casper Anderson. So in terms of assessment, 3 good climbers with no elite climbers, definitely an area to address. Punchers, not a concern. Time trial, we could certainly use some better time trialists, but in the short to medium term, that's not going to be an area of strength for us, and I don't think adding one is going to suddenly make us great at the time trial, unless that individual happens to be great at the time trial. As for improving the team time trial, it's going to take a lot of riders to drastically improve. This is still an area where I think we definitely have room for improvement and could see a significant gain if we picked up a classics rider. We have enough guys to now provide some support, but we don't really have a leader yet. And the sprint is an area that we're getting stronger and stronger in, but we are set to lose Anderson, but, Pivy, for example, 79 acceleration, he gets up to speed really fast. He just doesn't have the greatest top-out speed, but, he can give you a decent lead out for Vandenberg, not for others. For Vandenberg can pretty much keep up and not hurt his red bar too much. The others, it would drain their red bar really fast if Pivy was the one leading them out. So you got to be careful on that. And, we're not fantastic in flat either, but we've got quite a few guys that can provide a good, lengthier train to keep us at the front to set up the sprint train. So we're already pretty good in the sprint, but it never hurts to add a body. Now, of course, it's all about the index, and that index is an average of 76, as in, this accumulates into an average here this year. We now see that calculated as 5 stars out of a possible 6 with half stars counted. So technically there's 13 levels because you can have a 0. Hungering, easy proof of that one. But those levels are just a representation of what ultimately is a score. And our index score right now, being that Anderson and Oingering are the only ones expiring, we're looking at Bogley, Petty, and for Mark, and what is their average behind the scenes? What's the actual number that this is representing? Bogley is obviously the highest of the average, and these guys are the next ones, but combined, it's a 76. Now, breaking it down even further, it does go down to tenths of a point. So, behind the scenes, we have yet further 76 point something. Whether it's 0.0, 0.9, or anywhere in between, that's an unknown without getting into the database to find out. But that's where we stand, and that's what puts us currently at 15th. So in order to get promoted, the first thing we need to now look at is what's the free agent market like? 3 6-star riders available, but you figure they will stay with the biggest teams. You have a number of 5.5-star riders, quite a few actually. So down to Martinez. But, look at the team that they ride for. Outside of Uno X, we're looking at almost exclusively World Tour teams. And Gregoire, Johannesson, they're almost certainly going to shift from the Continental Pro teams that they're with up to the World Tour teams. Now, most of those teams are lacking much in terms of 5-star talent. My prediction, my hope, is that 3 5-star or better riders will be enough to get us into World Tour come next season, because we weren't terribly far off, even though we were, midway on that Continental Pro list last year with 3 4.5-star guys at the top. I do believe that realistically that half-star push average could and should be enough to get us in. We have one in Bogley. I'm hoping that we will get a second over the next 2 months before the end of the transfer period, as in internally get a second. So my expectation is that I have 3 riders on dossiers, Gourmet, Garcia, and Lenny Martinez. These 3 reasonable points. One of those 3 very much likes us, so he could be our top target of those 3, as in he should be more affordable. But we'll find out how affordable those 3 are. If they're reasonably priced, I would expect we should be able to sign 2. If they're not very reasonably priced, we're going to get 1, and then really need that internal upgrade to make something happen. But after that, we definitely have some quality prospects coming in behind that, and I definitely would want to start with the highest of those prospects, these 3, and then fill out from there the others, depending on how we're doing with money and ultimately space, because again, we only have 2 expiring. If we're going to find ourselves crashing the party of the World Tour, we do need a larger squad, but not in the go crazy. So my focus is more on getting the 1 to 2 big names within reason. So as things stand right now in the finances, we have pretty much broken even over the course of this season, pretty much. Our income versus spending right now is almost exactly, anyway, it's plus 16,000 over the course of the entire year. 1.2 million spent, 1.2 million brought in income. We are going from 135 up to 169,000, so that's an extra 34K for next season. Now we do have our under 23s, which is going to use up 10K, and we have 100,000 right now with 5,000 coming off the books. So we're at 105. So we still technically have up to 64,000 to spend, but of course there's staff salaries. But as long as you wait to sign your staff till after you've signed all your riders, you can exceed. And, even this year, we do exactly that. We're looking almost anyway. Well, yeah, no, we do exceed. It's 158, 159 when we bring in 135. But with the winnings that we have, it's kept us just ahead of the curve. And I wouldn't mind getting close again, but we'd like to not, go right up to the max. Might be a good thing. So we're starting with Martinez, who is coming off of a $4,000 contract. He's got that 100% interest in us, but he has absolutely flown to a 5-star ability level. Stage racing can be a 6-star, climber can be a 6-star, and puncher can be 5.5. And you can see how high that mountain already is with a 79, which would instantly make him the best GC hope on the team. Stamina resistance also quite high compared to anybody else that we have, and not awful in the time trial. Right now we have 25,000 for staff locked down, but that is something that is fixable, firing them and then moving forward. Got to keep an eye on that before you actually make offers if you're going to be trying to push beyond what is capable. At the moment we have 48,000 remaining, and I think that's about what I would like to spend of what we have available and not spend that last 20,000. Lenny's asking for 29.2. I'm going to try to offer him a little bit less. I've also bumped him from leader up to absolute leader. I have 0 on the team, and he clearly is the strongest rider we would have coming in for that. Might as well use that to boost up the roll, and then all we're dealing with is salary. And with the interest high and the length of the contract, if we can get 3 greens, we may be able to get him signed. And at 27.2, that does leave enough room to get 2 of these guys potentially, but it wouldn't leave us with essentially anything else. In fact, that would put us a little bit over where I would want to be ultimately. but feels reasonable for our first kind of glimpse at a little stronger GC contender. He would need to level up a little bit more. We need another mountain point or two, but the stamina resistance plus that mountain rating are pretty good. Almost. 3 more chances to get him signed. This, by the way, would bump us up 3 places in that index right away, and that's what I'm talking about on what we would need, because I don't think 15th will suffice. 31, so close. So 32-2 is what it's going to take to sign Lenny Martinez. Garcia and Germay may not be the same type of riders. For one thing, we're looking at a 26-year-old that probably isn't going to improve much. In fact, he's, you can see he's quite close to what his maximum is. He's only got a level or two left. So what you see is what you get. Martinez might be a better prospect, as he's still got more room for improvement. So unless these guys are wanting significantly less, I think I may, if I have to choose one, I'm choosing Martinez. But if I can get the other two for significantly cheaper, well, then we might have to call the shots and take those two to get that World Tour push that we're looking for. And I can tell you right now, Garcia is probably going to be a no sign for us. We do have 4 opportunities to get him signed, but he's only moderately interested, which means we're going to have to go a lot higher on the salary. It's going to have to be green before he would be interested in signing. If we offer straight 28.8, there's no way. In fact, if we even try to bump that down a little bit, not even close. In fact, he's quite mad about that salary. You offer the 28.8 and you're into yellow, and we're still 60%. So Garcia, not happening. This is going to take 38,000 before he would accept. Germay, at 24 years old, still has some potential, but not a lot. He's getting pretty close to his potential. Sprint is obviously his strongest, but he is fairly diverse. He's a decent puncher. He's decent at the classics. And when you combine that, that's somebody who can win some races. For us, you get the added bonus as an Eritrean. Well, the one per nation rule fits nicely with someone like that. And he's won a monument. So, I mean, we're looking at like okay, he would be a good addition. But he was already making 23,000 this last year, which means he's going to want an increase, not a decrease, not the same. And we've got the same situation as Garcia as we are in yellow. Just based on that simple fact, knowing that he's going to ask for more, we can't sign 2 guys. We're only going to be able to sign 1. So at the moment, I'm making the decision that we are going to save those 14 transfer points for other potential moves. And we are going to commit to Lenny Martinez, which I had a French rider previously, but they were one of the original group and they expired a year ago. So we have no French rider on the team as of right now. So yes, we can have a French rider. So far I have 4 riders signed, and I'm weighing my options on, is this enough? Does that make us better to a point that we need? Do I need to sign additional riders? Am I missing specialties? A lot of questions. I mean, I still do have budget, even from what I was saying I could spend. The more you hang on to, the more you have to spend in the future. That's a good sighting for us. And at 21, we would hope that, that potential that he does have, even though he's not far from it, at just 21, you figure he's still going to hit that potential in a relatively short time frame, hopefully within that 3 years, right? So he comes in as our automatic leader. You can see he's actually already placed above Bogley in terms of the actual 5-star versus 5-star, percentile, whatever. He's higher. The other 3 that we've signed, one that can definitely contribute fairly early on. The others are domestiques. These are the high potential 5.5-star guys. So we're talking about high end potential now coming to the team, and all very young, very much hoping that they will develop. 3 out of the 4 climbers first. So we are starting to lay the groundwork for a future strong GC team, which we've already found this year we don't have yet. So these guys are going to be a huge boost for that. Of course, one of those 3 is already a pretty strong climber, and definitely stronger than anything we have right now. The 4th one is the Luxembourg rider, Bausch. Bausch, he's not much of anything right now. He's mostly a Barrador on paper at the moment, though his Barrador rating itself isn't that high. But he does have a 69 cobble rating, and he does have a 68 time trial, and it is those 2 areas that he has the most potential in and can be quite good at both of those disciplines. Time trialing was one of those areas I mentioned that was a bit of a weakness for us, and same with the classics. Neglected a lot of categories. So GC immediately is a little bit better. We're already good in hills. Our sprint is certainly capable, but we did lose one, right? So maybe replacing one could be an option. We have addressed cobbles with 1 rider anyway, so there's a +1 from the options I had left. I don't think we have any high-end go-tos. That's something. And we are addressing time trial with that same rider. So we've got 1 in each of those categories, but no sprinter. Could we use a second here or here? Absolutely. I do not need any more climbers right now that are less than stellar prospects, and I certainly don't need any punchers. Looking on the team itself, though, do we need more riders at all? Well, obviously we have our 2 guys at the top. We have 10 riders. 10 at that 4.5-star range. All we need, theoretically, hopefully, is one of them. One of those 10 to crack into the 5-star range over the next 2 months. I'm hopeful that out of such a large group, with the kind of potential we have, and an age range of 21 to 25 in that entire group, that the odds are good. The odds are good that one of them will level up in the next 2.25 months. And these are mostly domestiques. Some of them do have high potential. Obviously, the new guys. Others do not. I have a bunch of expiring 4.5-star guys. I do want some of them back. Now, which ones? Well, here's the long and short of it. Bogley, obviously, is our best guy right now, so we want to retain him if he's affordable, especially if he wants to come back. Pithy isn't great, but he offers a couple things. He's got that high acceleration. He's definitely punchy compared to some of the others, though he's not elite. But he's a decent lead-out rider. So he gives us a few different things, but also he's not Australian. He's from New Zealand. He's from a much smaller pool of riders. That already does not bode well for McKellar, who is from an elite nation and doesn't seem to be improving much. 72 mountain, 73 hills, 75 sprint. None of it's too bad. Stamina isn't good. How much he's actually improved. Coop, large nation. Frigo, large nation. Frigo also starting to get a little bit older. But no, huge cycling nation. 76 with 78 stamina. Not bad. But we just saw how he did against slightly better opposition. He got crushed by Ivan Sosa in the Tour de Suisse. If he's not getting better, all he's going to be is a domestique going forward. So unless he's re-signed on the cheap, he's not useful for us. But even if he is re-signed on the cheap, he's removing Belgium from our equation. So he's probably going to be sacrificed as a result, which means a lot of these guys are going to go. Culverwell, same sort of thing. He's eating up the UK, and he is the lowest 4.5-star guy we've got. Not getting the job done. Which means, to be honest with you, there's Pithy, Bogley, Mikkels. That may be all from that group. Which means we have 9 expiring contracts that will not likely be re-signed. That's a lot of holes to fill. I don't think we can fill all 9 come next season, which means I think we need to sign a couple more guys this season. Wasn't really looking for another climber, but I'll give one more guy a shot. But I'm only signing him if he wants a minimum, because it just makes no sense to me. We're going to leave a lot of points out there, but hey, a lot of money out there too. Wow. 99%. 99%. If I bump him up to luxury teammate. Nope, that did not give him any boost. He was already happy with it. I guess after all of that, I'm going my normal route. We're signing 4 guys this year. There's nobody else out there that's going to be reasonable cost and help us in any way, or has the kind of potential worth signing. Mid-August, and my prediction has rung true. One of those 10 riders has made it to 5-star level. It is Kevin Vermark, which makes perfect sense, as he was one of the better ones that we brought in, who wasn't, as far away from reaching the potential. He didn't have as much to do. So here's how he looks now. 79 on the hills. That is the area there where he has made his gain. Stamina and resistance are fairly decent, and the acceleration as well. Downhill, I like those kind of profiles. One thing that I am noticing, though, just noteworthy thing, is that I've been training him as a puncher, and it looks like he has achieved his maximum, or close to it anyway. So I do need to spread out and get him working on something else. Where to gain, what to gain. Big if. I would guess if I want him stronger as a puncher, I need to make him stronger as a sprinter. Get that acceleration up a little bit higher. Maybe get that mountain up to support the harder climbs. So training these 2 areas. Probably sprint and then mountain as he comes along. With 3 at 5 stars now, we are 16th in the index, which may not be enough. I think a year ago it would have been enough. This year, it's looking like it might not be. Again, if you have not experienced this in game, it's because you haven't played far enough into a series. But the database just gets deeper and deeper and deeper, better and better and better every single year. It doesn't get worse. They don't really age out. There's more riders joining the fray than there are exiting the fray as you go along. There's still a handful of elite talents, and then there is still quite a few. I mean, something like 15, 20, maybe 20 5-star guys left that have not been signed, that are still free agents for the coming season. That's not a good sign for retaining this position, so I'll keep an eye on this one as we push forward. Little good news, bad news, good news. Bad news, good news. There's a mix. There's just 10 riders left of 5-star quality, and none better. That is starting to look much better for us on our chances as we sit on the bubble. We are on the final spot right now. So that's both good news and bad news as we sit on the bubble, and it's tight. One little piece of bad news is we missed what could have been Benyam Girmay, 24, but already very, very, very close to what his maximum potential was. And therefore we passed, thinking he was going to be the most expensive of the 3 anyway. Yeah, he's leveled up too. And would have definitely boosted us higher, and if we miss the bubble, come on. I mean, right? Martinez, it's your turn, bud. It's your turn. But then this happened. Vandenberg, just a week after Kevin Vermark, has become the latest one to make the jump to become a 5-star talent. How is he looking now in the sprint? It looks like, in terms of improvement, he's got just a hair left, and then a little bit in hills. He's getting very, very close to his maximum now. But sprint, 78, 78. So he's gone from a 77, 78 to a 78, 78. Very minor. It looks, like I said, he's got maybe 1 point left is all. So we might focus on his punchiness isn't great either. And his climbing's not going to get any better. Maybe his cobble rating, a 73. He's got room for a point or two there. So maybe we'll train him in classics. Main point about Vandenberg is he has, on the list, overtaken Bogley as our third. So he did bring us up 1/10 of a point or something. It may be marginal, but it is up. And here's why up matters right now. Between us at 3.9, 3.95 stars right now, we are right there on the edge of 4 complete stars. 4 1/10 is Bike Exchange in 7th. That's how close this is. I mean, we're talking about 2/10 of a star. So, a point or two in the index, which we've brought the index up by more than a point from where we started. Actually, I think it was 75 before we signed Martinez. So we brought it up a couple points. And we're a couple points away from being ahead of Bike Exchange as the 7th best team. But as things stand, we're on the bubble. And behind us, breathing down our necks, is X, who can't be more than a 10th behind themselves. RKS Amsic, that's where it starts to fall off a bit. I mean, they're 0.7, 2.5 tenths. I mean, they're a quarter point behind us in terms of the star rating. So, that's probably at least a point or more. And it continues to fall off from there. So, absolutely zero concern about Continental Pro. I mean, that's a given. 3 stars with 10 riders left that are 5-star quality. Like, zero concern. And, it's a different rating system in the comparison. So it's don't take the rider ratings with this one as a direct comparison. Apples and oranges. 5-star system, 6-star system, and a point system. They're all varied. But we are on that bubble just ahead, and X, one of those 10 riders, could boost them if they only have 2 right now. And here is how X is a real threat to us. They have signed 0 new riders right now. Not 1. No confirmed departures either. What they have is Johannesson, who we pointed out was fantastic. They got him re-signed for 1 more year. Now, if we're lucky, that took everything they had budget-wise, and this is literally their team for next year, and he's their sole leader. But with 3 4.5-star guys, you sign 1 5-star guy, you're bumping one of them off the list. And that's a solid upgrade. That's what we've done. That's how we've picked up a couple points. A point for them is going to be enough. So if X signs one of those guys, we could get ourselves bumped off the bubble and be the top Continental Pro team. And what would that be, our 3rd year Continental Pro? Harsh. Absolutely harsh. But that's the thing. As the database gets deeper and deeper, it's just harder and harder to qualify. Bretagne Classic. We got another World Tour race in here late in the season. Of course, keeping an eye on how we're doing with that bubble with X and what the outcome might be there. We might just make it, we might just miss it. But here with the Bretagne Classic, we have a breakaway of 5, including Pithy, who I have on auto. Let him manage himself while he's out there. But just in case the breakaway had a chance, I wanted to make sure we had somebody in it and have somebody in there who wasn't necessarily going to compete for the win today, but would be able to compete if in a breakaway to then claim the win. Now, they had a sizable gap. They had about 6.5 minutes. It's down under 3, and there's still 91 kilometers to go. And plenty of undulation. You can see he's definitely starting to feel the effort from being off the front. a fair bit, so I don't think that he's going to be able to go the distance. Let's go and get that water taken care of. Hello, Peloton split. Ooh. Might have just been a yo-yo type situation. And maybe not. But as long as it is yo-yoing, we need to hang on. Ironsman with the withdrawal. Nasty weather. Lots of crashes. We've been fortunate so far. Yo-yoing is happening, but at the moment it's definitely not a full Peloton, and gaps are starting to get bigger to some of the groups, and riders are starting to get dropped. Yeah, Pithy barely hanging on, and just 2 minutes right now. One of the harder climbs that we're going to see. Let's go ahead and up that effort. Skinny road. You do not want to be caught going backwards fast right now, like for Mark is at the moment. And now Coop. And it's down to 33 again. 67k to go. Pithy, done. Group starting to split apart. He's been dropped. He was definitely not the first one to get dropped, but looks like the group is literally in ones, as we have an E5 and there was 5 riders in the break. Peloton currently at 85 and just picked up the first rider. Check that profile of what's coming up in terms of undulation. Plenty of up down, but no massive climbs. Actually, the one we just went through was the hardest climb the rest of the way. But no, Arietta, Coop doing the domestique work today, and they're good climbers for that. Pithy just about to be caught. That last rider still has a sizable gap. That is Novak. 75-74 for him. That's that mountain rating carrying through. Peloton actually coming back together a bit, and his gap is going out. Now, we're not even on the list of favorites, but we are definitely not far from it. And with a strong race day condition, Bogley, I'm hoping we can get a high finish here. We're not on the list, so I'm not sure if we're going to compete for the win necessarily, but I definitely think we can crack top 10, maybe top 5. And we're starting to see the late push of individuals. Remco Evenepoel, Max Schachmann, the ones that are on the attack. And so intense response here. Pithy has been dropped. And Coop. 4 riders now at the front. 40 seconds. And we have the next wave of attack and response. Not a fan of the number that is going clear at the moment, but I am a fan of our strength within the team. But of course that is going to start to thin out. We'll be down to 3 guys before too long here for that final run-in. Okay, go ahead and gel for Arietta. Been holding off on that one for a while. For Mark is the one that Coop is protecting. We'll have to watch out. Where is Coop? I would imagine we want to leave Gonzalez. Oh, hello. Split. Double split. Nobody else is coming forward to contribute right now, which means the field around us is not necessarily looking strong. In fact, they're thinking about attacking. And we're catching the back end of that group right now. Some of the favorites struggling. Trying to roll up my effort. We left quite a few guys behind, and we are now chasing a group of 3. So we've just about bridged the gap we needed to get into the right position. I don't want to be the ones chasing unless I have to for the moment, because I really want to save our trio for the end. So as long as there's firepower to chase the front 3, then we will just hold position. Mark, Bogley both looking strong, and Gonzalez, of course, has certainly used up a bit of energy. 12k. Those front 3 at 30 seconds will not be an easy catch. We're down to 16 in the chase. Okay, I do think it's time to catch up. We've bridged the gap, but two of them continue to ride on. We never actually really made contact. But Alaphilippe is attacking, and you can see meanwhile we are just patiently keeping a high tempo. Now it's just Narvaez. Okay, red bar is gone, but we have 6K to go. Bogli, go ahead and gel now. Okay, 4.4 for Mark. Pressure on. Come on, come on. Faster, faster. Oh, this is the last climb. Shoot. Who's a better sprinter? Switch, switch. Right now. Gonzalez is done. It's 14 chasing 1. So we're looking like a very likely top 10. And there's definitely some riders in this field like Gonzalez that are feeling the pressure. 1.6, so sprinting. And sprinting forward for Mark. Narvaez is going to hang on for the win. Oh, Vermark gets second, though. Good result. Good result. Bogli gets third. Wow. We blew up that field. We blew up the chase group. Did not think we were going to be that strong for this race. Contend that well, considering we were outside the top 10. We caught the sizable group. We did what was necessary. That was the right move. If we didn't ride, that race was over. But we also didn't overdo it. We gradually pulled it back, slowly, carefully, doing what was necessary, but only as much as was necessary so we didn't go too deep, so we'd have something left at the end. And then the front group, we either caught or they blew up and fell off. And then meanwhile, the group with us weren't keeping up either. In the end, one rider had just enough left out of all those guys that were up the road, which was, 25 guys? We had enough to beat all but one. Really close to measuring that just right. If we pushed just a little harder, we might not have had enough to push at the end, right? So, almost worked out perfectly. That is going to do it for this episode, though. Next time, we're going to be wrapping up our season in the very near future, and of course, seeing what happens with our bubble position. Do we make the World Tour or not? We have 4 riders at 5 stars, so we've achieved the primary goal. But is it enough now, is the question. I'm the Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.